Hey, what's up you guys? It's Mike Nardi here. Today we're talking about LinkedIn, and I know you're thinking that on this channel I normally talk about Fiverr, freelancing, and making money online as a freelancer, but recently LinkedIn, the social media site for professionals, has decided to take a stab at the freelance marketplace, and they're actually opening their own LinkedIn marketplace for freelancers. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about the LinkedIn marketplace for freelancers, talk about some of the pros, the cons, what I think it means for existing freelancers who are selling on sites like Fiverr, and why you might want to consider signing up for it yourself. And also, if you're watching this because you're a freelancer trying to make money online, I would really love it if we could get a conversation going in the comments section of this video. I'd be interested to hear what your thoughts are on the LinkedIn freelance marketplace, whether you agree with some of the things that I'm talking about and addressing in this video, and whether or not you've considered giving it a shot yourself. So if you care to leave some feedback in the comments, I'd love to hear from you and really get the conversation going. All right, so back in February of this year, LinkedIn had announced that it was going to be opening its freelance marketplace, and a lot of blogs and YouTube channels were covering it. And based on what I'm seeing, now in mid-July, it seems like they've already started rolling out and launching the functionality. To start selling services on LinkedIn, it looks like you just need to create what they're calling a LinkedIn services page. There's a pretty simple help article to help you get started with this, but there's basically two pretty simple steps to get started. The first step is to go to the LI service provider group and request to join. Once you've requested to join, they're saying that within 48 hours, you should be given access to the service provider option and button on your LinkedIn profile that'll allow you to start creating your services page and get started selling. So from the perspective of a potential buyer looking to hire freelancers on LinkedIn, the UI seems pretty simple, but also pretty different from what you might be used to from sites like Fiverr or Upwork, and I'm going to show you what I mean. So basically, you're presented with this project search bar where you can search for projects, and it breaks down the steps that you can take to finding a freelancer to discover, review, and eventually hire. Pretty simple. There's some information on how you can get proposals, providers. It's very high level and very basic right now. The one thing that I've noticed that's really different from Fiverr is when you search for a particular type of freelancer, in this case, I searched for email marketing, it gives you a list of LinkedIn profiles, and it's up to you as the seller to message those buyers, review their profiles, and vet them for whatever service you might want to hire them for. Now, the one thing I'm seeing as a potential barrier or obstacle here for the ease of this whole process is normally on Fiverr or other freelance sites, you're hiring for a particular type of job or project. If the way to find services on LinkedIn Marketplace is to search for the service you're looking for and it presents you with LinkedIn profiles, often people will list their work experience, past work history, past employer history on their LinkedIn profile. So if you're looking for a specific task, and it's up to you as the buyer to look through everyone's LinkedIn profile, it can sometimes be tough to figure out if a particular person has done the types of projects you're looking for when you're just looking at a general, resume LinkedIn style. Whereas on like a Fiverr or an Upwork, the seller would actually post a specific gig saying what type of specific services they can offer based on their qualifications. Again, this is not a knock on LinkedIn in any way. That's just one of the differences I'm noticing between, how it looks like you search for services on this LinkedIn marketplace versus on a freelance marketplace like Fiverr or Upwork. There's also this interesting section I clicked through called Get Proposals, and it basically feels a lot like pre-filling out the gig requirement section on a site like Fiverr. It asks you a bunch of questions, asks you to check different preferences for the type of services you're looking for, and I'm assuming this allows LinkedIn to almost act as the buffer between buyers and potential sellers. So like based on the feedback you select throughout this get proposal process, it might send out feelers or quote requests to a bunch of different LinkedIn freelancers that it deems might be a good fit for this particular job, which is interesting because that's really different than how something like Fiverr or Upwork usually works. So there are a couple potential drawbacks that I started thinking about as I was clicking through and really thinking about what it would be like to freelance on a site like LinkedIn. The first is that for people who, freelance as a side hustle outside of their standard 9 to 5, I'm really curious to see how visible LinkedIn makes freelancers on their platform, right? Like I can imagine there's a lot of companies where if they start to notice that their employees are running a freelance business through LinkedIn, especially with all the visibility that company's customers might have on LinkedIn, it might create a bit of a sticky situation and a conflict of interest with certain employers. I don't think it's a huge deal, but I know a lot of companies are becoming more and more okay with freelancing, but I do know that, for example, if your customers have a huge presence on LinkedIn and they come across an employee of a certain company and then see that this certain employee is also freelancing, it might cause them to think that, maybe their best interests aren't being held in the company's mind. I don't know. It just might create a bit of a sticky situation if the lines become blurred there. So I'm really curious to see how LinkedIn deals with visibility from that perspective. The other really big potential drawback I saw to this type of freelance marketplace taking off for everybody is the fact that to be successful, I feel like you're probably going to need to have a traditional work history, work experience, and educational background. The reason being is in my little click through where I'm looking at how you find services, a big part of it is contacting people on LinkedIn and reviewing their profile. If you're someone who has learned a particular skill for your freelance business, but maybe you haven't worked for a big organization, you haven't had any traditional forms of work experience, but you've done a ton of freelance projects, it might be hard to compete with other freelancers who do have a full resume on LinkedIn. And that could be challenging for someone who maybe doesn't have a formal university education, maybe they've done courses on Udemy or things like that. I think it creates a bit of a not so level playing field because on a site like Fiverr, I know hundreds of freelancers who are making a killing who have kind of been self-starters, learned skills on their own, built a solid Fiverr profile, and have been killing it. On a site like LinkedIn, where people usually showcase their work experience, it might be hard for people who don't have that traditional type of work experience to compete. That was just something I was thinking about, so it might create a bit of a not so equitable playing field. Maybe, I don't know, I'm just brainstorming here, but it could also be a big opportunity for freelancers who don't have a profile on sites like Fiverr to leverage their work experience to get business. So it's a bit of a give and take there. I think it might be good for some, not so good for others. So I also think there's a whole bunch of potential pros to running a freelance business through a site like LinkedIn. The first is that it makes it a lot easier to validate past work experience, skills, and industry-specific expertise, right? So like if I was looking for a particular type of freelancer, it's very easy for me to pull up their LinkedIn profile, see what types of companies they worked for, in what regions of the world, in what industries, their educational background. People put a lot of information on LinkedIn. So from that perspective, I think it would be, awesome, really easy to validate experience and use that experience as a seller to validate, your credentials for yourself as well. The other pretty big advantage of LinkedIn Marketplace is that similar to Facebook, pretty much everyone I know has a LinkedIn profile. It's like the Facebook for business or business professionals. It's pretty popular. So if you're a freelancer and you're creating a freelance services page on LinkedIn Marketplace, you could potentially be tapping into a whole different market of potential clients who maybe haven't heard of sites like Fiverr, Upwork, Guru, whatever. Because really, the only people who really know about freelance sites are people who have had past experience either as a freelancer or hiring freelancers. So by selling on LinkedIn, you're tapping into a whole new market that could create a whole huge, massive addressable market that you don't normally have access to on a traditional freelance platform. So that's definitely a good thing for, entrepreneurial or, freelancers who want to take advantage of being kind of like a first mover on this LinkedIn marketplace for freelancers. You could really hit a home run here by being first to market, which I think is pretty cool. So should you start selling as a freelancer on LinkedIn Marketplace? Well, I think that it could present a really lucrative opportunity for some freelancers looking to make money online who want to leverage LinkedIn, but at the same time, based on some of the points I made earlier, I think it might not be the best fit for everybody, and it's really going to depend on the individual. But I mean, if you're working hard to figure out how to build multiple income streams online and you've already checked out Fiverr, Upwork, and some of the other sites, I don't see any harm in signing up for LinkedIn, and I definitely think you should give it a shot if it's something you want to do. You know, I'm obviously a big fan of Fiverr, but over the years I have tried other freelancing sites for myself. As a freelancer and as an individual, I know that you got to figure out which marketplace suits your unique style, and maybe there's different marketplaces that suit different types of services better than others. So give LinkedIn Marketplace a try. My one piece of advice for anyone thinking about it is make sure you really brush up your LinkedIn profile, solid picture, fill it out as thoroughly as you can, because I feel that this is going to be one of the key elements to whether or not freelancers can be successful on LinkedIn, is using the real estate on your profile to validate your experience and prove that you are who you say you are as best you can, because I feel like that's going to have a huge impact on whether or not you're getting proposal or job requests. Anyways, that's it for this video. Let me know in the comments if you're thinking about giving LinkedIn Marketplace a shot. I'd love to hear from you, hear your thoughts, feedback, your experiences. Would really love to hear it. So until next time, cheers.